this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse was on national television, Bloomberg TV today. I want to share with you some of what he had to say because a number of topics were discussed. And also, I want to share with you a comment from an insider, in fact, a former Ripple employee who says that he knows when there's going to be an XRP ETF get approved. He does believe it's happening. And he shared what well, it seems like a matter of fact statement. I'll show you the words when we get to that point. He says when Ripple is going to IPO, and it's not exactly what you would expect. It just due to the nature of how it's going to be done, if he's correct. You'll see what I mean when we get there. It's fascinating stuff here. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Okay, so now that we've got the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs, it's been over a month since that's happened now. There's broad expectation that perhaps even sooner than later, there will be additional ETFs approved for Ethereum and for XRP. Now, I do think it's an inevitability that you're going to be seeing ETFs for both ETH and XRP and a ton of other cryptocurrencies. I just don't believe it's probable. I'd love to be wrong. I could be wrong. I just don't think it's probable we're going to be seeing that anytime soon, not with Gary Gensler at the helm, not with him in charge of this SEC. Because the only reason he approved the Bitcoin ETF is because he's backed into a corner. Look what happened with the Grayscale lawsuit. Without that, I'm not so sure that we would have gotten that. In fact, I don't think we would have. They suffered a massive defeat in the Grayscale case. And even then, it was a 3-5 vote. So if Gary Gensler hadn't voted the way he did, we wouldn't have spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, of course, that would have resulted in a bunch more lawsuits, and they would have ultimately had to prove this anyway, but it would have delayed things, certainly. So I do think we're going to see an XRP ETF. I just don't think Gary Gensler is going to approve it because there's no sort of, from a legal perspective, nothing compelling him to do so. Because, there was the Grayscale lawsuit, which prompted Gary to approve the Bitcoin one, but that's Bitcoin specific. That has nothing to do with XRP or ETH or any other coin. So again, happy to be wrong. I just don't think that I'm wrong, but I do believe it's coming. And it will be awesome because the amount of money, my God, over a prolonged period of time, these investment vehicles, yes, it's going to be profound. And so Brad Garlinghouse here on Bloomberg, though, he says that Ripple has been advocating for regulatory clarity in crypto dating back to before they were sued by the SEC. And he notes that the SEC is now consistently losing lawsuits and that, they lost everything they cared about in their lawsuit against Ripple, frankly, which is delightfully true, obviously. Now, as far as an XRP ETF, Brad Garlinghouse says it only makes sense that there will be more crypto ETFs, though he says it's hard to predict when that will happen. And Brad says that he and Ripple would absolutely welcome an XRP ETF. And check this out. This is really interesting. Makes me wonder if there's something to this. He was asked by the host if Ripple is working with BlackRock to make an XRP ETF happen, because BlackRock has made some public comments, kind of cryptic, but made some comments I've highlighted on my channel recently about an XRP ETF. So he was asked, Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, are you working with BlackRock to make an XRP ETF happen? And Brad just said that he's not going to comment on that. He said he can't, but he said that he thinks an XRP ETF makes sense for the XRP community overall. And he said that all in the same breath. So I don't know if there is anything to that, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me, right? And, and he acknowledged, too, the long-term vision is to make sure that there is utility for XRP. First and foremost, that's what's important. And he wants to make sure that XRP is solving problems, which is basically my entire investment thesis. That utility matters and will win the day. That's my investment thesis in a nutshell. I think it's of critical importance, and luckily XRP does solve real-world problems, which is why it's positioned where it is in terms of market cap. It's been the top 10 cryptos by market cap for that reason. I think that's very clear. Oh, and by the way, also, and I made a separate video about this, but I want to mention this here. Brad Garlinghouse brought up in this TV appearance the fact that John Deaton is running for Senate against Elizabeth Warren. And he said something interesting. I didn't know this until I heard him say this in this interview, but He said that Ripple, Coinbase, and Andreessen Horowitz each put in $25 million of their own money and formed a super PAC to support crypto-friendly politicians. So that was news to me. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of wondering if it perhaps may be the case that that this super PAC will be supporting Attorney John Deaton, because and I mentioned this briefly in my video where I went a little bit more in depth into what was going on, but he basically did say it in the same breath. It's another one of those things where he brought this up. I'd never heard this fact before. Not that it was necessarily secret. I just didn't know about it. But the $75 million super PAC, and then he happens to mention John Deaton in the exact same breath. So I'm sitting there thinking, huh. And he even noted, like, for him on a personal level, he said that, for him, I'm paraphrasing here, but political party isn't what's important to him. He's like Brad Garlinghouse, he said on a personal level, he supports pro-crypto candidates. So it's certainly plausible that with John Deaton being as pro-crypto as they get, wouldn't be surprised if some money ends up going this way. And I hope so. I hope that's pure speculation, but I hope that happens. Because Senator Warren, very well funded, let's say. Definitely very well funded. But, I firmly believe that John Deaton has a legit chance to win. I really believe it. Look, John Deaton has been overcoming long shot odds his entire life. And I'm not even saying that this is a long shot necessarily. I mean, it looks to me like, as I highlighted in my video where I cover this, like, Senator Warren, she's freaking out a bit. She's trying to get donors to send money her way. She knows that there could be trouble here, right? So we'll see what happens. And so Brad Garlinghouse shared that video clip with Bloomberg, and he said, ran through a lot with the hosts here, Sonali Basak and Kaylee Lanes, probably butchering the names, this AM, why we've been forced to rely on court decisions, not sound policy, for regulatory clarity in the U.S., a potential XRP ETF, Ripple's recent acquisition of standard custody, and why Ripple continues to take a compliance-first mindset. Yeah, and so they did, as far as the standard custody stuff, he made it very clear that this is now core business for Ripple. That's why they don't even describe themselves first and foremost as a payments company anymore. That's not the first thing out of his mouth. If you ask him, what is Ripple? That's not the first thing he says anymore. It's about solving problems on an enterprise level for their crypto customers, basically. And custody is going to be a huge piece of this, and they have major clients. In fact, I believe he said HSBC, which was the first I had heard of that. So specifically for custody. But this is a core piece. And obviously with Medico, that acquisition that happened, I think was last May. Big stuff happening here. So it doesn't mean they don't care about XRP. Obviously, that's a core piece of their entire business model. And given how much they hold, shouldn't be surprising. They very much care about a healthy XRP ecosystem that increases in price over time. But as far as the ETF, I wanted to share with you what Sean McBride had to say. Now, this is a former Ripple employee, and he's been saying a lot of stuff lately, which is interesting. He does have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, but there are certain things that he's willing to say, and this is his perspective. And he said, you will see a XRP ETF in 2024 or 2025. You will also see a Ripple IPO outside of the United States in 2025. So given that he used to work at Ripple and he knows things, I think what he says, there's some credence to it, right? I think that's fair to say. We'll see what happens here. I'm still skeptical that there would be an XRP ETF while Gensler's in charge, but I won't be surprised if an entity or various entities file for one, though. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. Maybe there has to be more legal confrontation to get the thing approved, if it's going to happen sooner than later, but we'll see how that unfolds. Now, as far as the IPO outside of the United States, that would be sad. That would be a shame to see that, but until the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit is actually all buttoned up, which it's not now, even though we got XRP legal clarity, that's the most important thing to us. Even though that's true, the lawsuit's not over, and so until that happens, it's been made very clear there will be no IPO in the United States. So if it has to happen outside of the United States in 2025, so be it. That's what he says is likely to happen. So interesting stuff, is it not? I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.